Early impressions of the Elite Series 2 core controller, let's get right into it. The Xbox Elite Series 2 core controller is a cheaper alternative to the original Elite Series 2 controller released in 2019. It's visually a carbon copy of that controller as well. Sure, it sports a white body as opposed to the matte black look that we've come to be familiar with from the Elite Series 2, but there are certainly cutbacks on this controller compared to its more expensive older brother, and with reliability issues always being the key concern when it comes to Xbox's Elite controller offerings going all the way back to 2015 to the very first Elite controller, Microsoft claims to have addressed the biggest concerns surrounding these controllers, and what's even more is that they're confident enough to offer a full year's warranty, whereas previously they only offered a 3-month warranty. Now obviously, with only having had the controller in my hands for about 2 weeks now, I can't really make any definitive claims on the reliability of the controller. I'll have a full review talking about its longevity in about 6 months when I feel like I've really put the thing through its paces. So today's video is more of an early impressions video of sorts. Right out of the box, the controller looks familiar, but you'll notice some key cutbacks this time around. I think the most noticeable of those cutbacks is the fact that this controller does not come with back paddles like the original Elite Series 2. I've seen tons of different takes on this, ranging from that's totally fine to it's completely insane that they don't include back paddles, and I'm somewhere in the middle on that spectrum. I think it's pretty wild to sell a Pro controller without including back paddles or back buttons or whatever you'd like to call them. Kind of feel like it defeats the purpose, you know? Because a Pro controller is there because it offers you back buttons, and if it doesn't offer you back buttons, then there's really no benefit to having it. I mean, outside of strictly comfort, and I guess in this case you also get the trigger locks as well. But before I talk about how to remedy that back paddles problem, I want to also point out that this controller doesn't come with a charging dock like the original Elite V2, or the additional swappable thumbsticks either. It also doesn't come with a carrying case like the original Elite Series 2 does. The package literally comes with just a controller, a USB-C charging cable, and a little pin so that you can adjust your thumbstick tension. So in order to make this thing a fully officially licensed Elite Series 2 controller, you'll need to shell out another $60 on top of your $130 purchase of this controller to get the official Elite Series 2 component pack that Xbox is selling, which will bring your total price to $190 plus tax. But honestly, for me, that's a little too expensive when you consider the fact that you can get the normal Elite Series V2 on sale on Amazon for around $150 to $160 on a consistent basis. And much like everyone else in this community, I don't like spending more money than I need to spend, so I'm gonna let you in on a little secret. I mean, really, it's not a secret. Most people know about it, and I talked about it in my video I made when they announced the Elite Series 2 core controller. But if you head on over to Amazon and search for Elite Series 2 accessories pack, you will find multiple different packs in different colors for anything from $15 to $35. And most of these packs include your back paddles, your swappable thumbsticks, your swappable D-pads as well. Now, if you're someone who doesn't care about the additional thumbsticks and you just want back paddles and an extra D-pad or two, then you can grab an accessory pack for $16 plus tax, which isn't a bad deal at all. But if you're someone who wants those additional thumbsticks, you can grab a pack for either $25 or $32. The difference between the two being is that one is made with plastic pieces and the other is made with metal. For me personally, I grabbed a pack of the metal ones for $32, and I got that way back when I first got my original Elite Series 2. And I'll leave a link to all these accessories packs in the description below, so definitely go and check those out for yourself. But just for the sake of this video, let's just say I bought it specifically for this controller, which would bring me to just a few dollars more than buying a standard Elite V2 at its current regularly discounted price. And since we're already sort of edging towards the aesthetics of this controller, I want to take a dive into that, because really that's the first thing you see when you open the box. Now, I've seen a lot of complaints about the white and black look, but honestly I like it. I think the only thing I'd probably change if it were up to me is I'd swap out that silverish D-pad with a completely white D-pad. I think that would look pretty damn clean, and I will say the white shell of the controller is definitely a different material to the black shell of the original Elite V2 controller. It seems to be plastic, whereas the original featured a more rubberized feeling texture. I'm sure this was done as a way to cut costs on producing these things, which is understandable, considering they're shaving off a good amount of money from the base Elite V2 controller, at least in comparison to the retail price of the original Elite Series 2 controller, although it rarely goes for retail prices anymore. It does, however, have the same rubberized grips of the Elite V2, and they feel excellent right out of the box. The face buttons are still pretty clicky, but that's come to be expected with Xbox controllers in my experience, so honestly maybe I'm used to it at this point, but it doesn't really bother me. Although it would be cool to see Xbox get some mechanical switches for their buttons like mouse clicks, kind of like the Thrustmaster eSwap X Pro controller I reviewed here on the channel. I'll leave a link to that in the description. And I'd be remiss if I didn't mention battery life on this thing, because much like the original Elite Series 2, this battery is absolutely insane. I've been using this controller every single day since I've got it, and I game about 5 hours a night every night. And I've only really charged this thing once in that entire 2 weeks, and it's not because it needed charged, it was just because it was the end of the night and I decided to plug it in. So when it comes to the battery, don't even worry about it because you're barely going to be charging that thing. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's get to the real reason that you're here today, which I'm assuming is that you want to know how it feels to use. And quick spoiler, it feels fantastic. Xbox makes the most comfortable controllers on the market for me. I mean, that's just me personally. I think the DualSense is fantastic. It's about as perfect as a controller can get without having offset sticks. But having those offset sticks is where the Xbox really pulls ahead for me. The feel of how even just a standard Xbox controller fits in your hand is pretty unmatched in my opinion. And adding the nice grips of the Elite Series 2 controller to the equation only makes it more comfortable. The controller does feature 3-way trigger stops that you'll be familiar with if you've used an Elite Series 2 controller before, and if you're unaware what that means, then it's basically just a feature that allows you to shorten your trigger pulls before the button actuates. So in a game like Halo, for example, you'll be able to shoot faster with something like the sidekick because you have that shorter trigger pull. Here's a little example of what I mean.
New sidekick.
Go. Act fast, Spartan.
And speaking of shorter trigger pulls, the Elite Series 2 core controller uses the exact same accessories app on both Xbox and Windows to edit things like your triggers, your thumbsticks, button mapping for the back paddles, and all that stuff. And as you can probably tell just by looking at the controller, it also features 3 programmable presets for different button layouts. For me personally, I've got a preset for shooter games, racing games, and then one specifically for using manual shift in Forza Horizon 5. And then if you don't want any preset, you can just turn those off and it's just a normal controller without functioning back paddles. I think my only gripe with this controller is that it doesn't feature a dedicated button for taking screenshots and recording gameplay like the standard Series X and Series S controllers. However, one way around this, if you are getting an accessory pack, is that you can map a back paddle to take screenshots and another paddle to record clips. It's a bit inconvenient, especially if you want to have full use of all 4 back paddles, but I did just want to throw it out there for anyone who may be interested in trying that out. It's hard to give an official rating on something when I've barely even had it for 2 weeks, but in terms of functionality and feel, this controller, much like the original Elite V2, is phenomenal. For me, it's never been a question of how good these controllers feel or how they perform. The real question is the durability, and only time will tell when it comes to that. And like I said earlier, I'll be back in 6 months' time to give a full review on this thing, and hopefully Microsoft's claims of a more reliable controller hold true. So let me know what you guys think. Leave a comment below if you have any more questions for me regarding the controller, or if you want to talk about your experiences with the controller. Leave a like if you liked the video, and if you're enjoying the content, please consider subscribing as well as ringing that notification bell to stay up to date on all my latest videos going forward. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next video.